Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into something I'm super excited about, and I think you will be too. We're going to explore those awesome articles you sent over about making your own meditation corner,
It's a really interesting topic.
right? Just reading them made me want to transform a little corner of my own place,
Yeah.
like instantly.
Well, it's amazing how our environment can impact how we feel.
Totally.
These articles we're looking at really dig deep into how powerful it is to have a special spot just for meditation. It's not just about like trendy interior design or something.
For sure. There was this one article that said that seeing your meditation corner can be like when you see your yoga mat.
Yeah.
It's like your brain knows it's time to relax and switch gears.
Exactly. And they get into the psychology of that too, which is super cool.
Yeah, they do.
This whole concept of how our brains can rewire themselves through experience, neuroplasticity, they call it.
Interesting.
So when you use a specific spot for meditation over and over, you're actually creating new pathways in your brain.
So you're saying it gets easier to get into that mindful state over time.
Yeah. It's like building a mental shortcut to chill out.
Okay, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So we're basically training our brains to associate that spot with calmness? Love it.
You're right.
But beyond the brain science, what are some of the other good things about having a meditation corner? The practical benefits.
Oh, tons. Think about it. Life is so hectic.
It really is.
Making time for ourselves can be hard.
Yeah.
But when you have a dedicated space, it creates a sense of ritual.
Okay.
And privacy, too. It's like your own mini retreat, right? In your home, like you're drawing a line between all the everyday craziness and your own personal sanctuary.
And honestly, let's face it, most of us don't live in these minimalist havens.
Sure.
So having that designated spot can really help cut down on distractions.
For sure. You don't have those piles of laundry staring at you.
Or the TV remote tempting you.
Exactly. One of the articles even mentioned a study where people who meditated in a clutter-free space were way more focused and had less stress compared to people in more cluttered settings.
That makes total sense. When everything around you is calm and organized, it's like your mind can follow suit.
Exactly.
So it's not just about aesthetics, it's about setting ourselves up for success. But now, hold on, before we all start picturing these elaborate renovations, the articles are pretty clear that you don't need a ton of space.
Yep.
Even a small corner can do the trick.
Totally. It could be a little nook in your bedroom,
Okay.
a peaceful spot in the living room, even a space on your balcony.
Oh, I like that.
Any area can become your little mindfulness haven.
Right.
One article had tips for adapting small spaces, like using a folding screen to create a visual boundary,
Clever.
or placing plants strategically, to evoke that sense of tranquility.
I love that. It's about working with what you've got and putting intention into it. Totally. Intention over square footage.
Yeah.
So we talked about the why. Now let's get to the where. The articles mention some specific things to think about when picking the perfect spot for your corner. What are some of the key things we should keep in mind?
Well, a lot of them talk about natural light. They say it's a really good thing to have.
Okay, makes sense.
One source actually mentioned some research about how being exposed to natural light can boost serotonin levels, and that helps regulate your mood.
It does.
Doesn't even have to be direct sunlight, just indirect natural light can be beneficial.
That makes sense. A bright and cheerful space can totally lift your mood. But what if you live somewhere without much natural light? Like a basement apartment, for example. Are there any other options?
Absolutely. You got to get creative.
Okay, love that.
The article suggested using full spectrum light bulbs, which kind of mimic natural light,
Right.
or lamps that have warmer tones.
Okay.
And one source mentioned the psychology of lighting. They said that dimmer lighting can actually signal to your brain that it's time to wind down.
Really?
Yeah, helps you shift into that relaxed state easier.
So playing with lighting can actually help set the mood. That's a great tip. But it's not just about the light itself, right?
Right.
The articles talk about the overall ambiance and comfort of the space, too.
Totally. One even compared creating a meditation space to this Japanese concept of wabi-sabi.
Okay.
It's about embracing imperfections
Interesting.
and authenticity. It's not about achieving some picture-perfect, Instagram-worthy look. It's about creating a space that feels good to you.
Yeah, I love that. It takes the pressure off.
Right.
It's not about having the most Instagrammable meditation corner. It's about creating a space that truly resonates with you. Speaking of personal touches, the articles really highlight how important comfort is when it comes to seating.
Oh, yeah. They go beyond the obvious stuff like cushions and chairs.
Do they?
One even mentioned adding a footstool. Yeah, to help you keep good posture. and not be uncomfortable if you meditate for a while.
Makes sense. It's those little things that can make a big difference.
Huge difference.
The articles also seem to encourage experimenting with different textures and materials.
Oh, absolutely. Like one suggested using a sheepskin rug or a soft blanket.
Cozy.
Yeah, it's about engaging your sense of touch, creating a space that's inviting and cozy.
Right.
It goes back to that whole idea of creating a little sanctuary, a space that feels good physically and mentally.
Yeah, I get that. It's fascinating how much thought goes into designing these spaces. It's not just throwing down a cushion and calling it a day.
No way.
It's about consciously creating an environment that supports your well-being.
Absolutely. And speaking of consciously creating an environment, let's talk about one of the most exciting aspects from the articles, sensory design.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. We're talking about color, scent, natural elements, all those things that engage your senses and make a truly immersive atmosphere.
Right, and it's way more than just making a pretty space. The articles actually dive into the science behind how sensory input can impact our mood, our focus, even how our bodies physically respond.
But we're talking about really using our senses
Mm.
to create a space that helps our meditation practice. What are some of the specific sensory elements the articles recommend?
Well, color is a big one. You know how colors can, make you feel certain ways?
Definitely
It
true.
turns out there's actual science behind that. One article mentioned a study about blue light.
Okay.
They found that being exposed to blue light actually slowed down people's heart rate and brainwave activity.
Really?
Yeah, it made them more relaxed. So if you bring in some soft blues or greens into your space, it could help you feel more tranquil.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's amazing how powerful color can be. So it's not just about picking colors you like, it's about using color to actually shift your mood and how your body feels.
Hmm.
Did they mention any other colors that might be good for meditation?
Yeah, they talked about earthy tones like browns and beiges.
Oh,
They say those colors create a sense of grounding.
like being stable and connected.
Exactly, a feeling of warmth and connection to nature, which is really helpful for meditation. And speaking of nature, don't forget about the actual elements themselves.
Oh yeah, good point.
Bringing in some plants, stones, maybe a little water fountain.
I love that.
Not only does it look nice, but it creates a calmer, more balanced atmosphere.
I'm all about plants. Being around nature always makes me feel calmer. One article even said that having a view of nature can reduce stress and help you focus better, even if it's just a little potted plant.
It's like bringing the outdoors into your own personal retreat.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be anything over the top, right?
Not at all. Just a single plant or some flowers can make a difference.
Simple but effective.
Mm.
What about scent? The articles mention using essential oils and candles to make things more relaxing. What do they say about that?
Scent is powerful. One article specifically mentioned lavender essential oil.
Oh, classic lavender.
Right. And it actually makes sense because studies have shown that lavender can help you relax and sleep better.
Makes sense.
So diffusing some lavender in your meditation corner could help you chill out and get into your practice more easily.
Lavender's great, but what if someone's not that into lavender or wants to try something different? What else did they suggest?
You got to find what works for you, right?
Right.
They mention other scents that are known for their calming properties, like chamomile, sandalwood, and frankincense.
Okay, I've heard of those.
It's fun to experiment. Try different essential oils or candles and see what creates the most relaxing vibe for you.
So it's about tuning into your own preferences and finding the scents that you personally connect with. I like that. Now, what about sound? I remember the articles talked about using sound to enhance the meditation experience. What did they recommend specifically?
A lot of them talked about nature sounds.
Oh, I love nature sounds.
Yeah. Things like ocean waves crashing,
So soothing.
rainfall, birds singing. Those kinds of sounds can be super calming and make you feel like you're somewhere peaceful.
Totally.
Plus, there are tons of apps and websites with nature sounds.
Oh yeah, so many options.
So it's easy to find something you like.
I listen to nature sounds all the time when I meditate. It's amazing how they can instantly change your mood and help you feel grounded. What about things like singing bowls and chimes? I remember they mentioned those too.
Yeah, they can be really nice additions to a meditation space.
I can see that.
Like the sound of a singing bowl, it's so resonant.
Yeah.
And chimes, the gentle tinkling, can really help clear your head and make you feel still.
It's like creating a peaceful soundscape.
Totally. One article even called the sound of a singing bowl like a sonic massage for the brain.
Whoa, I love that.
It can calm your nervous system and help you feel at peace.
So it's like those sounds help block out the outside world and make it easier to turn your attention inwards. But it doesn't have to be anything fancy or expensive, right?
Not at all. Even just listening to calming music can be helpful. The key is to pick sounds that make you relax and focus, whatever those sounds are for you.
Right, whatever works.
Mm.
Speaking of focus, something that really stuck out to me in the articles was how much they emphasized keeping the space minimal.
Yeah.
Why is that so important for a good meditation corner?
Well, think about it. Every single thing in your space is kind of vying for your attention.
True.
And the more clutter there is, the more distractions your mind has to grab onto.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So by keeping your meditation corner minimal, it's like you're creating this visual representation of the mental clarity you want in your practice.
It's like decluttering your physical space to declutter your mind. Like a
Exact.
powerful visual reminder to let go of those thoughts and worries that are weighing you down.
One article even compared it to the whole idea of mindfulness itself.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, mindfulness is all about being present, right? And letting go of distractions.
Makes
Your
sense.
meditation corner can be like the physical version of that.
I love that.
A space where you're practicing that same awareness, but with your surroundings.
That's a great analogy. It's not just about a pretty space.
Nope.
It's about making a space that supports your inner work, you know,
It is, and it's about being intentional with what you have in your physical space.
just like you're intentional about what you let into your mind.
Exactly. And that feeling of intentionality can be really powerful.
I bet.
When you carefully choose what goes in your meditation corner, you're sending yourself a message. This space is sacred. It's a place to connect with yourself and find peace.
Okay, so we've talked about location, comfort, and sensory design.
Right.
But what about tools? Like
Mhm.
the articles talk about using meditation cushions, blankets, even things like crystals and inspirational quotes. Are those things essential for a successful meditation practice?
I would say essential, no.
Okay.
The most important tool you have is your breath.
Right, your breath.
That's the foundation of meditation, really. These other things are just there to support you and maybe enhance your experience.
Got it. So it's not about having all the fancy stuff. It's about what works for you and what makes a good environment for your practice.
Exactly. Some people like having a meditation cushion.
Makes sense.
It helps them sit comfortably and keep good posture, which can make a big difference in how well they can focus.
Yeah, I can see that.
Some people prefer a soft blanket. It helps them feel cozy and relaxed. It really is all about experimenting,
Trying things out.
seeing what feels right for you.
What about crystals and inspirational quotes? Are those more for decoration or do they actually serve a purpose?
Well, it really depends on you, what you believe, and what feels right for you. Some people feel like crystals have certain energies
Right.
that can support their meditation.
Okay.
Like amethyst is often associated with peace and tranquility,
Okay.
while rose quartz is supposed to help with love and compassion. If you're drawn to crystals, having them in your space can make it feel more personal and meaningful.
Right. And it can be encouraging to have those visual reminders, especially if you're new to meditation and still figuring things out. What about inspirational quotes? Do they work in a similar way?
Totally. Having a quote that inspires you or an affirmation, maybe in your meditation corner, can set the tone for your practice.
Like setting an intention.
Yeah. It's like getting a little pep talk from your favorite spiritual teacher or philosopher right there in your space.
I love that. It's like a visual mantra you can always come back to. It reminds you of what you're working towards and what you want to bring into your life.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be fancy.
Keep it simple.
It could be a handwritten note,
Right?
a printed quote,
Yeah.
even a picture that makes you feel a certain way. The important thing is that it speaks to you and helps you connect with your inner peace.
This has been so fascinating. I'm already getting ideas for my own meditation space. But before we wrap things up, I'm curious. For someone who's totally new to meditation and might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this, what's the most important thing to remember when they're setting up their corner?
That's a great question. The most important thing is there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's not about following rules or making it look a certain way. It's about making a space that feels right for you and supports your journey.
So true.
Start small, maybe just a comfy cushion in a quiet corner,
I like that. Start simple.
and then try different things, see what feels good.
Experiment.
The key is to create a space that feels inviting and peaceful,
Makes sense.
a place you want to come back to again and again.
To nourish your mind and spirit.
Exactly.
This has been such an eye-opening discussion. I'm definitely inspired to revamp my own meditation space and use some of these ideas.
Wow.
But before we get to our final thoughts, I'd love to know what resonated most with you from all the articles we talked about.
One thing that really hit home for me was this idea that our environment, like our physical surroundings, can really impact our mental and emotional state.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about making a space look pretty, it's about making it feel good
Right.
so that it supports our well-being and helps us cultivate a sense of peace.
I couldn't agree more. It's all about making mindful choices about our surroundings and recognizing that those choices can really shape our experiences.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we have more control over our environment and therefore our own well-being than we might think.
That's so true. And that feeling of having control can be empowering.
It is.
It reminds us that we don't have to just accept our surroundings as they are.
Yeah.
We can actively shape them to support the kind of life we want to live.
And that brings us to our final thoughts. Was one key takeaway, like a little nugget of wisdom that you want our listener to remember from this deep dive?
I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways is that idea of being intentional.
It's not just about throwing a bunch of random stuff together.
Right.
It's about really thinking about each thing you add and how it makes the space feel.
You got it. It's about making a space that matches what you want from your meditation.
Okay.
What kind of energy are you hoping to bring in? What qualities are you trying to embody?
Wow.
Meditation corner can be like a physical way to show those things.
So it's almost like a vision board, but for your inner self.
I love that. Yes. It's about making a space that not only helps your practice, but also pushes you to live a more mindful life. A life where you make choices on purpose.
I like that. Speaking of inspiration, the articles had some cool ideas for making your corner more personal. One that I really liked was adding a special object,
Yeah,
something you treasure,
totally.
or a piece of art that makes you feel peaceful or happy.
Those personal touches are so powerful. It's like they bring your own energy into the space.
Makes it feel like it's really yours.
Exactly. One article even talked about making a little altar
Hmm. An altar?
with things that are special to you. Maybe a photo of someone you love, a quote that means a lot to you, or a symbol from your beliefs.
I can see that. Having those things around you, it can be really grounding,
Definitely.
especially if you're feeling stressed or anxious.
Yeah.
Like creating a safe and peaceful little spot in the middle of all the craziness.
Exactly. A reminder that no matter what's going on, you always have somewhere you can go to find peace and strength within yourself.
It doesn't even have to be anything fancy, right?
Not at all.
It's the meaning behind the things that matters.
One source even talked about using something as simple as a smooth stone
Okay.
or a piece of driftwood you find while walking in nature.
I love that.
Those little things can mean so much. They can remind you of your connection to nature and to your own inner peace.
I love all these ideas. I'm already thinking about how I can add some more personality to my meditation corner, but I bet it could feel overwhelming for someone who's just starting out. What would you say is the most important thing to do first when creating a meditation corner?
Honestly, the most important thing is to just start.
Yeah.
Don't worry about making it perfect or feel like you need to buy a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Just pick a small space, maybe a quiet corner in your room,
Start small.
and slowly add things as you go.
So just take it slow and let the space change naturally.
Exactly. No need to rush. Take your time, try different things, and most importantly, have fun with it. Your meditation corner should reflect who you are and your journey to finding peace and mindfulness.
This whole deep dive has given me so much to think about, not just about making a physical space, but about how I can be more mindful in my everyday life.
I think that's a wonderful thing to take away from all this. And you know what? These things we've been talking about, they apply to more than just your meditation corner.
Oh, that's interesting. In what way?
It's about being aware and intentional in everything you do. Your relationships, your work, how you interact with the world around you.
So it's about creating a life that reflects what's important to you and supports your well-being overall.
Exactly. And as you keep exploring and learning about yourself and mindfulness, remember that your meditation corner can always be there for you. It's a place to come back to recharge, to connect with that peace inside you. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'd love to leave you with one last thought. As you go about your day, what's one little thing you can do to bring a bit more